and he goes for the Ice Beam, gets a critical hit, which did matter, so now I'm going to lose my Tornado's Eye, which was really my last opportunity to win this game, and yeah, I'm pretty sad about that. As I Mega Evolve and he goes for the Mega Horn, does 55%, that's fine, I have Synthesis, I have... If I hit my Sleep Powder, I would have been able to recover up on the Scolipede and would have been in good shape to actually win this entire game, but I missed the Sleep Powder in this turn, and now my Mega Venusaur is actually useless, and Mega Venusaur had developed into a win condition in this game. And I do fall to Cheeseboy for the 3rd time this season.
What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from the Token Minorities, and I am here with the Season 4 Week 3 battle of the NPL, this week against Cheeseboy628 and his Phoenix Sunkern. Now, if you remember back to last year, I played Cheeseboy 3 times last season, and I lost all 3 times against him. So, needless to say, I was not too happy about that, especially considering he was the man that knocked me out of the semifinals of the playoffs last season, and it was quite frankly just due to a Sleep Powder miss. So I am definitely looking for some revenge this season, and I believe I am very well equipped to get that revenge, in that my team matchup this season against him is so much better. It's infinitely better than what it was last season. In fact, I would say I even have the edge in the team matchup, just looking at the full rosters of 11, so I'm definitely excited to exploit that a little bit this week, and maybe bring him his 2nd loss of the season and move myself to a 3-0 record, which would actually be the best start in Toronto Star Raptors franchise history. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing if I can do that this week. So, looking at his team a little more specifically, he has a very offensive team. He has Manaphy, Thunderous Eye, Latias, Bisharp, Gengar, Magnezone, Diggersby, Hawlucha, Diancie, that's the standard Diancie, Sunkern, and Mega Medicham. So, first things first, he has a Sunkern. That's something I don't have to prepare for at all, which is absolutely fantastic. Then he has, other notable threats would be the Thunderous Eye, and that Thunderous Eye is so versatile, and quite frankly, if he runs the proper moves, it actually has a good matchup against my entire team, and it has the ability to Prankster, Thunder Wave, anything that would try to set up on it, perhaps trying to set up some speed stats like Mega Latios. If I were to run a Dragon Dance set, I'd have to fear the Thunder Wave from this, and if I were to run maybe a Choice Scarf Jirachi, he'd be able to Thunder Wave that, and etc. So that's kind of a nuisance. It also would be very strong if it were holding a Life Orb and packing coverage such as Sludge Bomb for my Clefable, Thunderbolt for the majority of my team, and Hidden Power Ice for coverage. So Thunderous Eye is definitely a threat. I'm going to have to prepare for that very carefully. And also an even bigger threat to my team is this Gengar here, as Gengar actually, if it were running a Life Orb 4 attack set, has the ability to hit almost my entire team, if not my entire team, for super effective damage. Let's see, for example, he could run Shadow Ball, Sludge Bomb, or Sludge Wave, T-Bolt, and I guess Hidden Power Ice for the Gliscor. That would be something he could do. Yeah, and that would actually hit the majority of my team for super effective coverage. He could run maybe Focus Blast over Hidden Power Ice, that might make more sense. But that's the kind of set that I'm expecting from the Gengar this week, just because Gengar's matchup is so solid, and therefore I'm going to have to prepare extra carefully for that, probably by bringing a Pursuit, Trapping Sneasel, or something like that, to make sure Gengar doesn't get out of hand. But yeah, he's got some pretty big threats. Mega Medicham, of course, is always the threat, but not as much of a threat as it was last season, in that I have a lot of things that are able to do a lot of damage to it. I have so much priority on my team and so much speed on my team just due to that priority, that I'm going to be able to really overpressure the Mega Medicham, I think, to where it's not going to be that big of a factor in this game, and for that reason he might not even bring it, which would be absolutely fantastic because I don't want to deal with it. But regardless, I do think Wobbuffet has a very good matchup in this game, because it is going to be able to hard counter Mega Medicham unless he finds some way to dodge around that, and it also has a good matchup against Latias, as if he doesn't bring Mega Medicham, I can try to trap the Latias, or I can try to trap the Diancie, as if I can get rid of his few things that have a little bit of bulk, like the Latias or the Diancie, anything else have bulk. I guess Manaphy can have some bulk. I don't really think I need to use Wobbuffet for that, because I do have Unaware Clefable potentially and Heliolisk. So yeah, Wobbuffet is going to be able to help me get rid of his bulky things, and I think that my matchup's actually going to be pretty good because of Wobbuffet, and I believe my sweepers in general have a pretty good matchup as well. So let's go ahead and jump on over to the team building process, and I'll go in a little more detail. Alright, so the thought behind building this team was to start with Wobbuffet and tailor it such that I can take out Cheeseboy's favorite offensive core of Mega Medicham and Bisharp, in that with a Colbur Berry and max defense on this Wobbuffet, I'm able to completely shut down Bisharp. His Life Orb Adamant knockoff does under half, I believe, with that, and then after the Colbur Berry, he's actually not able to take me out with a knockoff still, so it's actually really nice. I believe that's the case anyway, and that's actually really nice because it's going to allow me to either get rid, or allows me to freely just encore on the Bisharp to prevent a setup of Swords Dance, and it also just lets me encore on the Mega Medicham and then take out the Mega Medicham with a counter the following turn, as he likely goes for a high jump kick or something like that. So yeah, Wobbuffet's really good for countering both the Mega Medicham and the Bisharp. I think it's unlikely that I'll be able to kill both with the Wobbuffet, but just taking out one of them is really nice for my team because it really frees up a lot of options with some of my, I guess, frailer mons that I brought this game. But if I'm not able to trap the Wobbuffet with the Mega Medicham with the Wobbuffet, I do have another option for that, but I'll talk about here in a little bit. But that's the general purpose of Wobbuffet, but there's also the opportunity, depending on what composition of mons he brings, that if he only brings one bulky thing, like if he only brings Diancie to absorb hits, then I can actually use Wobbuffet to trap that, and then I can spam priority against his team, or even just set up something with Lucario, or set up a Dragon Dance with Megaladios or something like that, and then I'll be able to really just destroy his team because he is so frail outside of that Diancie and outside of the potential of a bulky Latias. So Wobbuffet actually has an incredible matchup this game, and I'm excited to see what it does, and I was also excited to build around it here. So next up is the Breloom. And Breloom's matchup is actually really good, especially Focus Sash variety, because if you look at his team, Breloom just has such a fantastic matchup against offensive teams, especially when I have a lead matchup in which I am the faster of the two Pokemon, in that I can go straight for Spore, as he has nothing that can absorb the Spore except a Sunkern, which if he brings Sunkern to counter Breloom, then okay, he outplayed me on the lead matchup, but I really don't expect him to bring Sunkern there, and I believe I should be able to get off a Rock Tomb and a Spore, or a Spore and a Rock Tomb, a Spore and a Bullet Seed, something like that, something kind of crazy on the first two turns, and get myself some early momentum in this game, in that if I get even one thing asleep, then I'm going to be really in a great situation, because all I need is that little bit of momentum to be able to plow through his entire team with what I'm bringing this week. This is one of my favorite teams that I've ever made in the format, I think, and I'll kind of explain that here a little bit more as I go along. But yeah, I think Breloom's matchup is very good, especially this Focus Sash lead variety, in that he really doesn't have any hard counters to it. He can try to go into Gengar or Latias, but neither of those want to take a Rock Tomb followed up by a Spore or another Rock Tomb or something like that. So definitely I'm excited to see how Breloom does in this match. But now for the true win condition of this game, that is a SD Life Orb Lucario, in that if I get even a little bit of damage on Latias, even a little bit of damage on Manaphy, and even a little bit of damage on the Magnezone, I am able to obliterate his entire team with a +2 Lucario, and that he has no switch-ins at all. If I get a +2 with damage on Manaphy, Latias, and damage on Magnezone, then he is going to lose to this Lucario, flat out. He has no answers. He cannot Prankster Thunder Wave me, because Extreme Speed will out-prioritize that. +2 Bullet Punch does an insane amount of damage to Diancie. He has nothing that can just OHKO me back unless he runs Earth Power, which is something I really doubt. I think he'll just run Diamond Storm this week if he brings it, because of the potential Talonflame. And yeah, so I think I believe Lucario's matchup is fantastic here. I'm running Inner Focus on it this week, just so that I can take Fake Outs from Mega Medicham and be able to, of course, dish off an Extreme Speed that turn and another one the following turn. And I don't really think it's going to be necessary. I don't think it'll even come into play, but if I'm not able to get a +2 with the Lucario, then I will need to do 2 Extreme Speeds to kill the Mega Medicham. So that's the idea with the Inner Focus, and yeah, so this thing's going to be really strong this week, I guarantee it. He just doesn't have real good responses to powerful priority options like what my team can provide. So the next up is the Megaladios, and I mainly brought this for 2 reasons. One, it can be a secondary win condition late in the game, in that he doesn't have a whole lot that can directly combat this. Yeah, he has Gengar, but I plan to Pursuit Trap that, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, with my Sneasel. So I believe that Megaladios has a very good matchup as well once I get rid of Gengar, once I can get rid of Diancie, which Wobbuffet can easily do for me, which Breloom can do for me, which Lucario can do for me, which really my entire team can do for me. So Megaladios is going to be pretty fun, but I really needed to bring this just in case he had a way of dodging Wobbuffet with his Mega Medicham, and that this is a defensive Mega Latios, and defensive Mega Latios is only 2-hit KO'd by a Ice Punch from Mega Medicham, from Adamant Mega Medicham. I believe Jolly also easily 2-hit KOs, but this thing is EV to outspeed Adamant Mega Medicham in that he can go for the Ice Punch if he wants, then I go for the Dragon Dance. I can survive the following Bullet Punch, I believe, and at least I'm not sure if I can survive the following Bullet Punch. I think I can, but I don't think he can afford to run Bullet Punch in this matchup. That's the main thing here, as he probably needs the coverage of High Jump Kick, Zen Headbutt, Fake Out, and Ice Punch to do well in this game. I don't think he can really afford to do anything else, which was kind of nice information to have in the back of my head. But a Sub-Dragon as Mega Latios also potentially lets me dodge the Thunder Wave from the Thundurus if I'm able to set up a substitute on the Thunder switch in or something like that. So I think this is a pretty good mon in this matchup. Definitely not as potent as Lucario is in this matchup, but it is a secondary win condition, and it can take a hit from Mega Medicham if Wobbuffet is not able to handle it. And it's going to just be an overall threat to his team. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how that works out. So then next up is the Sneasel, and his primary job is to, well, first of all, his coverage is actually fantastic against Cheeseboy's team, so that's kind of nice to have. And it's not really going to be a win condition, but it's definitely going to be a wall breaker. It's definitely going to be just a means of wearing down his threats to my team, and that I can Pursuit Trap both the Latias and the Gengar, and that the ability to do that is really, really nice for my team, because when Gengar's gone, I'm free to do so much more, especially with my Helios that I'll talk about here in a little bit. But with Gengar gone, I'm able to do really anything I want to do with my team, because Gengar is by far the biggest threat, and if that's gone, then I do have solid responses to everything else. Sneasel's going to have to revenge kill the Gengar, unfortunately, so if Gengar gets in freely, I'm probably going to lose a Pokemon, but hopefully it won't get out of hand, because if I get any damage on Gengar whatsoever, it is Pursuit Trapped. It cannot switch. It can't even if it stays in, it dies to a Pursuit, assuming no HP investment after, I believe, 1 turn of Life Orb damage. So yeah, Sneasel's going to get rid of Gengar this matchup, and if I can also get rid of Latias with it, that'd be great. It also is going to help me wear down Magnezone, in that even a Scarf Magnezone is outsped by 1 by a full speed. It's fully speed invested Sneasel, so I'll go for a low kick on that, get it into extreme speed range from Lucario, and yeah, I think Sneasel really pairs up well with the rest of my mons on this team, and I'm excited to finally see Sneasel do some work in NPL format. It's never been used in the NPL before, and I'm kind of surprised by that, because it is a very powerful mon with an incredible speed stat. It's just a little bit weaker Weavile. It really does the same job that Weavile would do, though, so I'm kind of surprised no one ever uses it. I'm excited to show it off a little bit this game and see what it can do. Last up is what I find to be probably the most innovative set that I'm bringing this week, and that is an Assault Vest Heliolisk, in that this hard counters Manaphy, and it hard counters a non-mixed Thundurus. So just that fact alone makes this be very, very good in this game, and it actually allowed me to not bring Clefable this week to try to counter the Thundurus and the Manaphy. So this is a much more offensive option than Clefable this week, which really helps my team a lot, in that as long as I have momentum, I'm in very good shape this game, and I'm not really concerned at all if I have momentum. And Heliolisk definitely is going to help me continue that momentum. And the good news about this set is he doesn't have any switch-ins to this. He kind of has Diancie, which can switch in, but I think he needs to run a physically defensive Diancie to combat my Talonflame. So I believe that I'm going to be able to just Volt Switch or I guess Focus Blast. Thunderbolt probably be my better option on Diancie if I were expecting him to stay in, but it also lets me Volt Switch on his likely Latias switch in to try to absorb whatever I go for, and that lets me maintain momentum into my Sneasel and do a lot of work with that. So yeah, this thing's matchup is pretty solid in this game, I believe. And really, I'm going to need to keep this healthy if he brings Thundurus and or Manaphy, because I do need this to make sure I can take hits from those things and let the other members of my team do their jobs. So this thing is kind of my sponge this week, which is kind of funny considering Heliolisk's job is rarely ever going to be sponging in any matches this season, but I believe that's what it's going to be best at this week. So overall, my matchup does seem pretty good. I'm a big fan of the team matchup just based upon the team that I've built. I don't really see him being able to do a whole lot to gain momentum in this game, in that he doesn't have much that really can be a threat as long as I prevent him from setting up. And the only thing on my team that he can truly set up on is my Wobbuffet, and I can just encore if I fear a setup at any point, and that will make sure that I maintain momentum in this game. And as long as he doesn't get a +2 attack or +2 special attack with anything, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape in this matchup. So let's go ahead and jump into the battle. Let's try to end this losing streak. Here we go. Alright, and here we are with the team preview, and the first thing I noticed from looking at his team, I'm on the opposing side, by the way, in this replay. For whatever reason, Showdown decided to get rid of the option to exchange the positions of the players in the replays, so I'm not really sure why they did that, but I hope they go back to the old format soon, because that was really convenient. Anyways, looking at what he brought, he did not bring Mega Medicham, which is really, really nice, especially for my Wobbuffet, because it allows me to have a little more freedom in what I want to trap with my Wobbuffet, in that I can trap the Latias if I want to, I can trap the Diancie if I want to, and get rid of his bulk, or I can even get rid of the Bisharp if I predict him to try to go for knockoff. I can encore him into a counter, etc. So I believe that Wobbuffet's matchup just became that much better in this matchup because he did not bring Mega Medicham this week, so that's really nice, and I'm going to definitely be able to exploit that here. And as far as his threats, he definitely brought the Gengar, which was no surprise. That's probably going to be a Life Orb set, which can do a lot of work to my team, and he did bring both Thundurus and Manaphy, which, I mean, I'm glad I brought AV Heliolisk now, because he's going to be able to survive the hits from those two a little bit longer, and Heliolisk becomes very important in this game because he did bring both of those. And it's still looking like Lucario is going to be very good, especially because he did not bring the Magnezone, so I'm going to be able to sweep with a Swords Dance up even quicker. I just need a little bit of damage on Manaphy, a little bit of damage on Latias, and I guess just a little bit of damage, maybe even Volt Switch damage on the Diancie to be able to guarantee the KO with a +2 Bullet Punch. So my team is looking really solid at team preview, and not to mention that Sneasel can Pursuit Trap both the Gengar and the Latias if I am able to get myself in the proper positions. So this is looking pretty good. Breloom lead is also looking nice because he doesn't have anything that hard stops that, so I'm going to be able to go straight for the Spore or the Rock Tomb on turn 1 depending on what he decides to lead with. So let's go ahead and jump into the match and see what happens. He decides to lead off with his Gengar, which is actually perfect for me because it's going to give me the opportunity to go for the Rock Tomb and get that guaranteed damage on Gengar that I need to put it in pursuit range from the Sneasel, even if he chooses not to switch out. And as you can see here, I go for the Rock Tomb, I can do about 60% damage to it. It's going a little too slow for me. I'm going to speed it up for the time being. And he goes for the Sludge Wave, outspeeding me on the following turn, revealing that he's going to be a Choice Scarf Gengar, which, while that kind of sucks that I lose my Breloom without taking anything out, I am willing to trade my Breloom for this Gengar any day. And that Gengar was such a huge threat to my team. Now the Gengar is gone, I have a lot more freedom with my other mons, and that's going to make things much nicer. Now here I'm predicting the Stealth Rock, and I decided to switch into my Heliolisk to get off the Volt Switch damage, potentially on the Diancie, or Volt Switching on the Latias switch-in and Pursuit Trapping that with the Sneasel as well. So that worked out pretty well for me, especially considering he went for the Protect instead of the Stealth Rock on that turn. Now here I just go for the knockoff, knowing that it's easily going to be able to take out the Latias, and he's definitely going to be fearing the Pursuit. I felt like he might stay in, but the real reason for going for knockoff there was because all damage is good damage against the incoming Diancie, and if I had gotten off knockoff damage against Diancie, it loses its only means of recovery, which is pretty wonderful for me, as Diancie gets worn down, it's easier and easier for Latios and Lucario to beat it. Now here I decided to trap the Diancie with my Wobbuffet, as he already lost his Latias, and if I just got rid of the Diancie, then my offensive mons just have so much fun with this team. So I decided to go ahead and trap it here. I could have gone to my Lucario on the Diamond Storm to try to set up the Swords Dance, but I thought it wasn't really worth it because I wouldn't be able to one-hit KO the Manaphy with anything on my Lucario, especially if it were an offensive Manaphy, and that I would not be able to outspeed and click Close Combat against it, so I'd have to click Extreme Speed, wouldn't quite be able to do the work, but it's fine. He does just take out my Wobbuffet with the Bisharp, but now he's kind of in a bind, as I can just go for the easy Close Combat with my Lucario, and that if he went to Thundurus, he would die to Close Combat plus Extreme Speed. If he went to Manaphy, he would die to Close Combat plus Extreme Speed, and obviously Bisharp is just wrecked by the Close Combat. Now here, I just go for the Extreme Speed with Lucario to prevent the Nasty Plot setup, and it does 56% to it, which is fantastic. It takes me out the Thunderbolt, but now I can go into my Sneasel very freely and just go for an Ice Shard. No need to predict any switch-ins and go for the knockoff or anything. You don't need to risk the Thunder Wave here. I can just go for the Ice Shard and follow it up with a knockoff, and the damage there told me that this was an offensive Manaphy instead of a defensive Manaphy, so I don't really think I need to fear Rain Dance Rest on this set, so I can just go for the Ice Shard followed up by the knockoff. He takes me out with an Energy Ball, which I'm not exactly sure why he was packing Energy Ball in this matchup. I don't really think it hits anything that hard. He probably should have just had like Ice Beam or Psychic there. But regardless, Heliolisk is going to be able to come in now, as all he has left is the Manaphy and the Thundurus, and neither of them are going to be able to handle this at all. So Heliolisk is just going to clean up the game with a Thunderbolt, and that will be good game, Cheeseboy. We finally broke the 3-game or 4-game really slide. I did lose the last game against him in Season 2 as well, so I had lost 4 straight league matches against him, and this was definitely satisfying, to say the least, to be able to break that losing streak against him. So the Toronto Raptors advanced to a 3-0 record with a +9 differential. That is tied for the best in the league, I believe, at this point, although Maddie hasn't played at this point, and he likely will be able to. If he does win, he'll have probably a higher differential than 9, so probably second best in the league again, but that's perfectly fine with me. We are 3-0, the best start in franchise history for the Toronto Raptors, and we knocked off my division rivals, so this is very nice, off to a 1-0 record in my division as well. So that is the game. Thanks for watching, guys, and next week we are against Richard Arisen and the Oakland Rosa Raiders, and what's going to be a very highly anticipated match for me, for sure, because last season I did play Richard, and I did defeat him 3-0, but I am aware that he didn't prepare to the extent that he normally does in that matchup, and that was due to personal reasons, so I'm really excited to be able to fight against him when we're both hopefully at our best. And it's going to be a fun matchup. He's rocking a mega low punting team, so that's always going to be fun to deal with. But luckily, my priority options are pretty good against that. So that'll be pretty fun. But thanks for watching, guys. That is the match, and I will see you all next week against Oakland. Peace.